Hey, welcome to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Sue Saller here, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. Have you ever found yourself needing to say something difficult but felt unsure of how to proceed? Well, today I want to share a story about a friend of mine whom I was coaching. She had a challenging conversation ahead of her and was struggling with, a little bit of anxiety and perhaps memory loss when thinking about what to say. So, during our conversation, we explored the physical and emotional sensations that she experienced when she was thinking about this conversation. And we discovered that her body was actually reacting with like sweaty palms and a sense of freezing up. And these reactions, being entirely normal, are rooted in our body's fight or flight response to the stressful situations. Now, what I told her to do is actually rooted in visualization and repetition. Okay? So those are the 2 things that I talked to her and I said, "Okay, let's work those through." So first I reassured her that her physical response was natural, but we could also work on neutralizing that. And that's where this power of visualization and repetition come in at. So here's what I did. I advised her to write out exactly what she wanted to say to the person on a piece of paper. And I then told her to read it every day in front of a mirror, visualizing herself speaking those words as if the person was in the room. Now, please understand what she had to say the first time she read it through. She was extremely emotional, like crying and everything. So, this was a difficult conversation that she has to have. So, fast forward to today. So, it's about 5 weeks later, and she reported back to me that at first, she felt very awkward about speaking in front of the mirror, but with daily practice, it became more and more natural for her. So she is actually at the point where she feels that she can confidently have this conversation without getting emotional and crying, even though it's going to be challenging. Now, her brain has adapted to this routine, making it feel like it's a normal activity. Now, one thing she did say to me was, she said, "Well, what if I forget what I'm going to say?" And I said to her, "Hey, no problem. Just have the dialogue on a piece of paper in front of you while you're talking to that person, right? Like, who cares that that piece of paper is there?" So it's all about what you need to accomplish. Honestly, it's like a security blanket that for her brain, so that in case her brain goes into that fight or flight scenario, she has it in front of her to refer back to so that she doesn't forget those key points that she has to say. So what's really fascinating about the human mind is that it doesn't distinguish between fantasy and reality. We have this part of our brain called the reticular activating system that is responsible for our wakefulness, our ability to focus, our fight flight response, and how we ultimately perceive the world. It can control what we perceive in our consciousness, and it's essentially the gatekeeper of information. What's so wonderful to have this system in us is that we all have it, and we can tell our brains the things that we want to become or the things we need to do. So, for instance, in my friend's case, she knew what she had to read. So she said it over and over again. The brain didn't know the difference. And so now she's ready to have that conversation. Another example would be something like, if you want to be more creative, you could start by saying to yourself, "I am a creative person." Now, you might not be creative right now, but what's going to happen is that over time, your brain will activate this reticular activating system, and then you're going to start looking for creativity. As we conclude this Wednesday wisdom session, I want you to think about a situation that is coming up for you where you can use the techniques of visualization and repetition, just like my friend did, in order to help you overcome that challenging thing that you're going to have to face. Now, you can do what she did and write it down so that you have what you have to say in front of you, and then go say it in front of a mirror. Or better yet, if you have a close, trusted friend who's willing to listen, you can say it to them a few times. You can start training your brain to do those difficult things because your brain, remember, doesn't know the difference. Remember, friends, small steps can lead to big wins. Thank you for spending your time with me. Take those small steps and turn them into a big win for you today. As always, I appreciate the time you spend with me because I know you could be listening to someone else. I'm thankful for you. I see you. I appreciate you. Have a great day. And remember, life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by choice. Until next time, friends, take care. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Small Steps, Big Wins podcast. I value your time with me and I seek to make every moment count. In order to make lasting change in your life, listening is usually not enough. So I want to ask you, what practical steps are you going to put into action today as a result of listening to this podcast? Remember, any step, any action, no matter how small, starts your journey to a big win. And if you're not sure where to get started, reach out to me and let's have a conversation. Until next time, love yourself, then love others. Peace.